This is the Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. What's going on, Sham?
The NBA episode is what's going on.
The preview in quotes.
Yeah, it's definitely not a preview at this point. We're like 2 weeks in.
Yeah, but good thing about the NBA is the season lasts an extremely long time.
Not as long as baseball.
Not as long as baseball, but still too long for my taste. But long enough where we haven't gone too far before making predictions.
And actually, some goofy things have occurred since we were supposed to record this. And
yes,
full disclosure, we started recording this a couple weeks ago, but then we had a couple family issues and we had to sort those out. So here we are.
3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
It's been a while. So we've been off for a while in general. So it's good to get back in action and good to get back with this. I like it. One editing note that I've been meaning to do, and I feel like now's the appropriate time to do it.
Yeah. You mean not the character from 90210? Not him? Is that what
a few episodes ago now, I think 3 episodes ago, I went on a rant, a very educated, researched rant about the NBA's problems over in China and all the stuff that happened in the preseason. And I called the commissioner of the NBA, David Silver, I think I counted 5 times. And as Sham just pointed out, David Silver was none other than Brian Austin Green on 90210's character. The commissioner of the NBA is named Adam Silver. We both knew that. I'm not throwing Sham under the bus because, it was a good segment. But if anyone was listening for 2 seconds, they were distracted by the fact that I called that man David Silver quite a few times. Yeah, in talking about him, I was it wasn't even like he was off reference. He was the subject of the rant.
Facts.
I'm fully aware that the commissioner of the NBA is named Adam Silver. I'm only going to give. So I decided I was going to make my excuse. Well, the previous commissioner was named David Stern, but then, better heads prevailed. And I might as well just, listeners, y'all are family. I watched a lot of 90210. But Adam Silver has, he's been the commissioner for maybe 6-7 years now?
It's been a minute.
Yeah. It's been a little bit of a minute.
And he was the deputy commissioner for many years before that.
Exactly. And that's how David Stern got his job before that. He was the deputy.
Right.
And I think it's a good time to bring him up because, and we'll get into it a little bit when we talk about the Clippers, but it's come up again a little bit in terms of the load and resting the players. And we just talked about the length of the season and all that. Doc Rivers has come under some fire, and I think Adam Silver and PTI brought it up. Tony Kornheiser. There are a few issues that he gets more riled up about than resting players.
And I agree with him.
Yeah, and I completely agree with him. We've talked about it on the show. So, but we are both very excited about the start of the NBA season. This will be a very unique season in the sense that the NBA is different than the NFL and even baseball, the other sports in general, and that you have your favorites, yes, but this season in particular feels very, very up in the air. You can't call it because of the nature. There aren't big threes. There are a lot of duos. And
that takes us back to the NBA we used to know and love.
Yeah.
It was always about duos in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yes. This feels very pre-aughts NBA. So it's already been a fun season so far. So what are your initial thoughts before we dive into it?
Admittedly, I haven't watched a lot of the NBA, but like you said, and you didn't say it like this, but there's a lot of, even right now, there's a lot of parody. So we'll see.
I think that's good. And I will say this: the NBA in general, it hasn't just been recently. The NBA is a league of dynasties. You really have a few teams at the top, and then you have a lot of bad teams. I think we are now coming off the Golden State era, and man, that is going with a thud. That is crashing down pretty heavily, at least this season. So we'll see.
Well, right now they have the worst record in the NBA, so we're gonna.
That's kind of crazy
to
even
crazy.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which conference? So, okay. Unlike the NFL, everything in the NFL, divisions are important.
Yeah. NBA is not about divisions. We don't even have to know who's in what division.
Right.
But we know that by the end of the season, that the top 8 in each conference are who matter.
Correct. Yeah, it's just a scrum in the playoffs, period. So, with that being said, we can start. Sam, which conference would you like to start in?
I'd actually like to start on the West.
Let's do it.
Because because the NBA champion came from the Eastern Conference last year.
Yes, it did.
So I think that we should start with the West.
I think unexpectedly, but yes, it did.
Right.
All right, so let's start in the West. I mean, we got a lot to get through in that conference. I think most fans would believe that the champion is going to come out of the West. Maybe they're presuming.
Yeah, there's been a lot of presumptions about the Clippers. People are just like sticking their necks out there for the Clippers right now, which should make a few teams on the East feel a certain kind of way, specifically the Bucks, maybe even the Celtics, or even the Raptors, who are the defending champions.
So, So
let's start kind of low in the West. Let's kick some teams to the curb.
Just get some teams out the way.
Let's kick some teams to the curb.
Yeah, I mean, all right. We'll save the Warriors because I think that's a special little category.
Right.
The Grizz are struggling. Memphis Grizzlies. That's sad to see because I think we even talked about it last year. There was a time, a very specific set of years, maybe 5 or 6 years. Zebo. The younger Gasol. What's
Mark Gasol.
Mark, thank you.
Who won a championship with the Raptors last year?
Yes, he did. Memphis used to be a fun team.
Pau Gasol.
Yeah.
For a lot of it before he got traded to the Lakers.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of good players come through. Nothing really sticks for them. Mm-hmm. The last of one of their great players, they traded
Mike Conley.
Mike Conley.
Yeah.
It's funny that we started talking about the Golden State Warriors, and now we're talking about the Grizzlies because Andre Iguodala was swiftly sent there after his remarks over the ownership.
He was not feeling that at all.
No.
I mean, he basically waved his finger in the air and told everybody who listened, "I'm not trying to play for y'all." Yeah.
Yeah. But let's talk about some good things about the Grizzlies. They picked up the number 1 pick in the draft last year, and that's Ja Morant.
Yep.
And he's balling.
Yeah, he is. They're in a rebuild. I mean, it's that simple. And, I think hopefully they'll learn from things in the past where they dealt both Gasols at different points where, try to keep your team together. I mean, but it's hard in the NBA, and we'll probably talk about that more as we cross some other teams. Guys don't want to stay in places. But to me, we're in a social media age now. You don't have to live in a place to build your brand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So being in that city doesn't necessarily mean that you won't be successful outside of the sport. And they've also had quite a coaching carousel as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, whether it's players, coaches, they just can't get it right. Like they'll make the playoffs for like one season, and then the next 3 they'll be garbage.
They used to give the Spurs all kind of problems.
They did.
That was like Pop's Achilles heel, the Grizzlies.
The Zach Randolph years.
Yes, Zebo.
Yeah.
And the one guy who I can definitively say DeMarcus Cousins is scared of, in my opinion. But yeah, they're in the rebuild. They're in the rebuild. So not too much for me for them. The next team up the ladder, I'm way more interested in talking about because you have a connection to them. The Pelicans.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've playfully called the New Orleans Pelicans Duke South.
Yes.
Because they do have 4 Duke players on it. So the biggest news to come out of that camp, outside of the trade with the Lakers, AD ran up out of there, and they got LeVar Ball. That's his daddy. No,
Lonzo.
That's his daddy.
Yeah.
They got Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
They got Brandon Ingram. They also Josh Hart for AD, and they drafted Zion Williamson.
Yes.
So the biggest news out of that camp is Zion Williamson's injury on his knee, and that he will be out now, I guess, 3 more weeks, if not longer.
Yes. It looks like it's going to be longer. And it looks like there's already sort of some mixed messaging coming out of like how long this injury is going to take, which is concerning. They need to make sure that they manage this situation properly. Zion Williamson is the best thing to come out of this situation. And you and I spent a lot of time talking last year about the aftermath of the, aborted Anthony Davis attempt to be traded, and then the eventuality of him being traded, Alvin Gentry, everything else. They need to make sure they handle this properly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And an article came out earlier this week where basically they said, Zion is healing stronger, but he's like, I'm not going out there until they let me.
Right.
And they're basically, I guess looking back on the Kevin Durant situation last year, people are a little kind of sheepish about pushing their players out too quickly. So kudos to the Pelicans for being cautious with this. So, look.
They just heard what I said, and they're taking this seriously.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say about Zion, and maybe you can talk about a little bit about this at Duke. I don't know if this was a big topic down there. Listen, it's one thing to be sort of a quote unquote freak of nature, and we talked about his size and everything else. But when you have a knee problem and you're this young, you need to manage that size. You need to manage that weight. And the Pelicans need to help him do that. I'm not saying he's like overweight or out of shape. What I'm saying is they need to make sure that he doesn't leverage that size too much on a bad knee.
Well, he didn't have a bad knee at Duke until the shoe exploded.
Well, right.
So.
Oh, okay.
I'm
saying after that.
For it being a concern at Duke, it really wasn't until that happened. And then after that, it wasn't really much talk about him needing to get smaller or anything like that. I think the main concern was getting him back healthy. But then you have to think too, you only play about a third of a season that you play in the NBA in college. Mm-hmm. So the long-term wear and tear is going to tell us this year or next year when he's fully healthy, you would expect whether or not he can sustain that type of weight with this long NBA season. Like college season is short compared to this.
It's a third of it.
Yeah. There's really no way to tell if.
Well, my point is the man is 280 pounds.
I know.
That's concerning. Only in the sense that at his age and at his height, I don't think that's a weight you need to be at and have a knee problem on top of that. To your point, he didn't have one most of the time he was at Duke, but then after that, and even now that we're beyond that, that needs to be monitored. And he needs to get slimmer, in my opinion.
Well, I think they're doing that, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But, hey, like you said, that's the news. And really, yeah, the Pelicans is all about when Zion coming back. All right, nothing to see here until he comes back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Kings.
First and foremost, I just need to vent. The Sacramento Kings, your GM is Vlade Divac. That to me is, I don't understand that. And he's been the GM for quite a while, and he's made quite a few bad decisions.
Well, my main issue with the Kings is not so much their general manager, and I guess it can fall back on him when I get to my point, which is they tend to have most of their players are like the same player. Mm-hmm. There's too many swing / like 2 guard swing / players. Mm-hmm. Like De'Aaron Fox, who is a point guard, I guess.
Who I like.
Buddy Hield. Harrison Barnes, who did something amazing this past week, by the way. Buddy Hield, who was like, yeah, y'all need to pay me all this money or I'm out. Like, bro.
Like who are you?
Who are you again?
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what are you talking about?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
did I miss something?
I like De'Aaron Fox though.
De'Aaron Fox.
I've liked him since school.
I liked when he sunned Lonzo.
Yeah, in the tournament.
In the tournament.
Yes.
Yes. It's like, wait, everybody been talking
I think
about,
I still like him from that. Yeah. But he balled that shit.
He balls.
Yeah.
They just have too many players that are the same position.
So Vlade Divac has completely mishandled a few things. The coaching situation there. Now, Luke Walton is the coach there. We've had a lot of fun with Luke Walton with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out in Sacramento for him. I think if you had offered Luke Walton a head coaching position at a high school, he would have taken it to get out of that situation in LA.
Oh yeah.
But so there's that. The DeMarcus Cousins situation, I believe he was the GM at the tail end of that. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like Vlade Divac has mishandled a lot of situations, and he's only the GM because he played for them. And I don't like when you have situations like that. Now, there's some good GMs who play for their teams, i.e., the big one I would think of is Danny, my man in Boston.
Danny
Ainge.
But he has been a successful one.
That's what my point was. That's a good example of someone who played for the team.
Oh well, Jerry West.
Well, yeah, Jerry West. The logo would be the best example.
If we're gonna talk about examples,
but then there's some not so good examples. Magic would be a good one, or not so good one. Joe Dumars, and we'll get to Detroit. A mixed bag, I would say. But yeah, I don't like when you make your GM, and you see this in the NFL, you see this in every sport, just because he played for the team. And quite frankly, Vlade Divac didn't even get y'all a championship. So what are we talking about in Sacramento? Sacramento is also like a couple years away from trying to uproot that team and move it. So they have a lot of off-the-court issues, in my opinion, that will stop that team from being great for quite some time. That's kind of where I am with them.
I just don't understand who they're building their team around.
Exactly.
Like they come in with all these high draft picks like every year, and you're like, okay, so you picked up Marvin Bagley III one year. Then the next year, the year before that, you picked up Harry Giles. You picked up Buddy Hield in that same draft. You picked up De'Aaron Fox the next year. You traded in Trevor Ariza. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know the direction this team is trying to go in. So.
And I think you said it best when you said you got too many of the same guys. Like you just said, what's the plan? Like, can you sit down and tell me what the direction of this team is? No, the answer is no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to be trash.
Yeah,
just like
trash.
I think the Grizzlies are going to be trash. And what was the other team we just talked about? Trash.
Pelicans.
The Pelicans
that was a wait and see.
They're trash right now.
They're trash right now.
Because they're 2-7.
Yeah.
But it's a wait and see because you got to let them get all their pieces.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting one. The Trailblazers.
Yeah. So the Trailblazers are not trash.
No.
But they're having a trashy week. Or last 4 games.
You are what your record says you are, correct?
I guess so.
So are they adjacent?
They trash adjacent right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what their issue is.
They're strongly adjacent. like congruent.
They're 4 dumpsters out of 5.
Right.
They're trash parallel.
Yeah, they need to be extremely concerned with their adjacency. Because that record is not looking good. They're 3-6.
They needed Dame to drop 60 on the Nets, and they still couldn't win. I don't know.
I've been seeing Dame on way too many SportsCenter commercials and not enough victory interviews.
He's spending too much time barring Shaq.
I mean, okay, this needs to be mentioned. The man put out at least 2 that I know about, but I think there might be even more than 2 tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
He got a bar Shaq EP.
It's cool. Right. Right. These are all the singles. Look, it's cool when you do it the first time. Why did there need to be multiple tracks?
I don't know.
Just because there was a positive reaction to first, because he did bar, but just because there's a positive reaction to the first one, you felt the need to come out with another track
before Shaq could even have a rebuttal. You came out with another one.
Like, dude.
Now Shaq's rebuttal was kind of weak, but
I mean,
The track was hotter than Dame's.
Dame won the war. Yeah. Let's get that straight. But it's like, Dave, like these are your priorities. Like,
right. How about you prioritize this losing season you got so far?
Yes. No, but in all seriousness, this is what frustrates me about Portland. And honestly, I mean, we are documented on the show, especially me, I'll say me, being very hard on Dame before he went on the run he went. And I was frustrated with he and McCollum. It just seems like they just squandered a good opportunity out there. And I don't like how they've started the season. And, you know, it's concerning. It is. They need to get it together. The West is wide open. Mm-hmm. And if they are trying to be taken seriously, Dame, you want to wave goodbye to Russ last year and all that, and he deserved it, Russ deserved it, and they deserved it, and that was a great moment, and you had a great run, that's fine. But you got to come back in this season and put your foot down, and you're not doing it.
Okay, to be fair, I'm looking at their losses. Nuggets, Spurs, Sixers.
Spurs? That's acceptable?
Warriors, Clippers, Nets. Some of these are acceptable. They are. Warriors. So, and I'm going to say this.
They lost to the Warriors?
Yeah.
Is that what you just told me?
Yeah. But it was before Steph broke his hand, or...
Even still, the Warriors was getting mopped up by other teams.
I get it. But I guess here's my thing about successful teams. And I felt like this for a while. Like, backcourts don't prosper. Like, teams led by backcourts don't necessarily prosper. You got to have a good backcourt player and you got to have a good front court player. For example, we talked a lot about the Raptors when they had DeRozan and Lowry together. Two great backcourt players, but they brought in a fantastic front court player in Kawhi and broke up that backcourt. You need somebody else who can score inside and outside, because two guards are not going to be able to carry a team to prosperity. That's just kind of how I've always felt about it.
I agree with you completely, and you made a very compelling argument. I would say your argument is more compelling in the playoffs. In the regular season, if you have a very good backcourt, like Dame especially proclaims to be, and McCollum should be, and I've been very hard on McCollum, you should at least not be underwater in the regular season. Backcourts survive the regular season. Being a fan of the Wizards, I know that for a fact.
Yes, that's another great example.
And quite frankly, Golden State has, for a while, and then they added Durant, but for a while, survived on that model too.
Well, no, because you had Draymond. On any other team, he's not going to be a star, but on that team, he's the will that makes that work.
Yeah, we'll get to them, because I'll leave that alone for now. But I do see your point. I think your point is valid. I don't think I would not accept that explanation from Dame or McCollum, is what I'm trying to say. So in this situation,
but do you think that they're the type of team that can right the ship, and by the time playoffs start, they can be in the mix?
Yes, and that's my problem with them. Because before their run last year, we were complaining about how they would get to the 3rd, 4th seed in the West during the regular season and then flame out. Last year, they got there and actually did something. So my point is, if you were good enough to get there and do all this all these years, stop it. Now you're being crushed under the weight of your expectations, at least so far. It's early. And you're underwater. You're 3-6. You lost to the Warriors? Like, that's not acceptable. I'm sorry. Losing to the Warriors right now, if you're trying to be a team that's taken seriously in the West, and when I say right now, what I mean is when they lost to them even, before Steph got hurt. We'll get there. That's not acceptable if you're trying to be taken seriously. So right that ship. But yes, I do think they're capable of that, which is why I'm being hard on them.
Is Paul Gasol a new addition to that team? Was he there last year?
No. He might have been.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think he was.
Actually, yes. You're right. I remember seeing him in that series.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, moving right along.
Now we get into some fun stuff. The Thunder. Our man, CP.
Yeah, you know,
We both like him.
I love him. He's a quintessential point guard. I say that all the time.
Yes.
So just to break them down a little bit, they lost Russell Westbrook and playoff P, which you can't stand that I call him. You agree with Tony Kornheiser?
Tony Kornheiser. Correct.
They added Chris Paul.
And by you call him, it's because he calls himself that.
Exactly. But I mean, they kept Dennis Schroeder around, and I feel like I contend that Atlanta made a mistake by getting rid of Dennis.
I've never liked him because of Atlanta, but yes, he's a decent role player. Yes.
Steven Adams is still hanging around. Andre Robertson is still injured, and I don't even know what his injury is. But he's their best defensive player.
I've always had a strange liking for Steven Adams. He gets under people's skin.
He does.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. Yeah,
it cracks me up that he's not even like the most famous athlete in his family. Right. But Chris, it's really true that nobody likes Chris Paul but me and you.
I know. and apparently, if we play basketball with him for 2 seconds, we would stop liking him. Apparently, that's the key. You like Chris Paul until you get on the team with him, and then he becomes a jerk.
He's a banana boat buddy until you have to play him in practice.
And apparently he's Cliff Clavin about basketball and tells you everything you don't want to know about. They be making him sound like he's like a loser that you want to like not be in a room with or something. It's actually quite like appalling how
actually
Chris Paul is talked about. Yeah, but they're only slightly underwater. Listen, I think the prevailing wisdom was that Chris Paul would like sort of mail it in and they wouldn't be even slightly competitive. They're only 4-5, I think Chris Paul has too much pride to not compete out there. I think he's a good leader. So, the Thunder, actually, this will actually be a good referendum on, or at least a bookend on Chris Paul's career to see what he can do with that team. I think that they can, at minimum, compete and be hovering around 500 and knock off some teams.
So I agree that this will probably be good for him. There's no one to challenge him on this team.
Yeah.
Maybe Steven Adams, but if he didn't challenge Russ, I don't see him challenging Chris. But never mind all that. Chris Paul is making $38 million this year.
Yeah, his contract is absurd. It's almost as bad as John Wall's.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, that's why. It literally is an albatross. Like they would have to buy him off to or do a buyout. Excuse me.
It's insanity.
Yeah. So I think he knows he's stuck. They know they're stuck. It is what it is. The fact that they're even 4-5, I think someone could have reasonably expected this to go completely in the tank and they'll already be 1-8, 2-7. And he's competing and they're competing. And Steven Adams, it's interesting you say that. He's an irritant, but to other people, he's a great teammate from everything I've heard about him. Mm-hmm. So I think that Chris Paul can go in there, assume a leadership position, and actually try to make something out of that team. And it'll be interesting to watch. Then I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but they'll push for it. They'll be a team to watch. So, that's the story there. Minnesota's 5-4. I'll be completely 100,000% honest with you. I haven't cared about the Minnesota Timberwolves since Kevin Garnett left there. Kevin Love was there for a while, and then he went to Cleveland. Since then, now they have Wiggins from the trade. Mm-hmm. Wiggins has actually played well. It's been quietly, he's actually played decently out there. I actually wonder if Wiggins had not been traded for Kevin Love, what he and LeBron would have been able to do in Cleveland. Am I wrong about that?
I think the only reason why it couldn't have worked because
okay.
They essentially played the same position, and Kyrie was there. It was like too many people in this. It was just too many. Yeah. I just don't think Wiggins would have worked there.
Yeah.
But Wiggins has been balling since he came into the league.
Yes.
Let's be clear. He's making $27 million this year. What? Gosh,
he got G'd. Yeah.
I'm in the wrong gender and obviously not doing the right career.
Wrong gender, wrong career, everything. Yeah.
But he actually spoke out recently too and declared himself one of the best players in the league. So
Andrew Wiggins? I missed the hell out of that. Oh wow.
So he feels like he deserves every bit of that money. Hey, if you don't think you're great, who will?
Now, let's talk about the fun story for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Cat.
I mean, all right. So now, just like last year, I do like when the NBA starts out with like a little bit of a fight or whatever. Let's get this going because I would like to try to enhance the image in my head of the NBA where it reverts back to the NBA that I grew up with, where people didn't like each other all the time and weren't banana boat buddies. Mm-hmm. So anytime there's a fight at the beginning of the season, I'm kind of like, okay, we're back where it was. But to call this a fight is an insult to every fight that's ever happened. Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid got in basically a pillow wrestling match at the beginning of the season. I think I would say Cat headlocked Embiid, right? And then they sort of tussled a little bit and then wrestled to the ground. Then Sham, the real fight was on social media. Because, I mean, no punches were thrown. None were thrown. Embiid was acting like a clown on the floor. And then they both went straight back to the locker room and just, it seems like immediately took their phones out and then tweeted each other for like the majority of like 2 days. This is, it's one of those things where I now feel old because if that's our version of fighting in the NBA, I mean, remember when the real fight in the NBA happened and like punches were thrown on the court and people actually had to like get drug out off the floor? Yeah, now it's like, oh, okay, we're going to push each other around real quick.
We're going to hug each other aggressively.
Yeah, hug each other aggressively. Thank you. Bear hug each other. And then we're going to tweet about how hard we are. Karl Anthony Towns, listen, when Joel Embiid was like, we all know what's going on, all I could think about was Jimmy Butler. And
I was just about to say, he's just taking all types of L's.
Yeah, so I would just let you keep going with that after I say it.
Like Jimmy Butler just straight stole his girl and didn't care two craps about it.
Now, Sham, I'm going to say this. I don't think a lot of people know about that. Like, you told me about it, and I've been spreading it to whoever wants to listen. Like a gossip. Gossip is horrible, but I've been like, yo, Sham told me this the other day on the show. Like, did you know that? But
I'm surprised. It was kind of a thing. Don't know.
But it makes all the sense in the world. Like, he disrespected him so badly. But in all seriousness, nah, like I feel like that's what Embiid was talking about because he was like we all know what's going on with you. Like, don't even try to test me. Blah 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 blah.
Embiid, you cried on national TV because you lost the playoff series, and you gonna try to troll somebody else. Like, you only cry when you win, not when you lose.
Well, as a guy, I'd rather cry over losing a playoff series than have my girl take it by my teammate. So he gets a pass on that one. If we have to choose between the two. All
right. So to wrap up the Timberwolves, in my opinion,
we went off.
They're always great on paper.
Yes.
They have all the pieces. They can never get it together on the court. And again, same as with the Kings, they have too many players with the same skill set or the same position. If they can just kind of corral that, get some good coaching in there, they could actually be a team that can contend. In all
seriousness, if Karl Anthony Towns actually grows into what he could be, they could be something. It is all Jimmy Butler's antics aside, Karl Anthony Towns needs to become the player he was meant to be out of college. I'm not saying that he's a bad player, but he's not the player he should be.
No, I mean, also he's young. He did the 1 year. What is he now? Like maybe 22, 23. He hasn't been in the league that long.
Yeah.
Like maybe this is his fourth or fifth year.
Yeah.
So he's still got a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah.
The sad part is we got to watch you do it.
Yeah.
It's not like back in the day when folks came out of college after 4 years, graduated, and then
that's a good point.
We're having to watch these people mature as they go through their NBA careers, and we don't get to see the greatness until like their late 20s.
Yeah.
So
his mom was going after Embiid.
Of course she was.
Did you see that?
Because he's a child.
No, I'm saying like
no, I did not.
So that night that they fought, his mom was at the game.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and they showed her in the stands, and she was like screaming at Embiid. Yeah, but anyway, yes, no, you know what? That's a great point. But I do forget how young Cat is. So yeah, that's a great point. Great point. So we'll see. Timberwolves, hey, you're over 500. Another team that's over 500 that I think if you would ask is a testament completely to coaching. The Spurs.
Yeah. Spurs. Man. Yeah. They've got one of the greatest coaches who ever lived.
Yeah.
Still working. The day he retires, the Spurs are just gonna go whoop.
Yeah.
Which they seem like they might be doing now. But the Spurs, like, who do they have? LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan. Both
Patty Mills.
Patty Mills, who's a good little, he's
a good role player.
He's the kind of guy on the team that, you have him out there. He's scrappy. He'll get in people's faces. Yeah. He'll make a couple good shots every now and then. He's high energy. You always need a guy on the team like that. But your stars are duds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are not coming through that tunnel. And here's the thing. Watching Pop coach the Spurs now reminds me of Blue Chips, and we both talked about that movie. And I mean, it's actually a really good movie that ages well. And at the end of the movie, when he's like resigning, Nick Nolte's character, and he talks about the best coaching job he's ever done. And he said, I've won championships, I've done this, but the best coaching job I did was when I took my team last year to like one win over 500, because I basically, like, I didn't have that much talent, but I got the most out of them. Mm-hmm. That's how I think of Pop. That's what I think. I think Pop is going to show us this year how good of a coach he is, because I think a lot of people, even though they respect Pop, they think, oh, well, you had David Robinson, you had Tim, you had, Ginobili and all those people. They don't realize, like, okay, yeah, especially Robinson and Tim, these were great players. People like Ginobili and Tony Parker and all those people, they do not become the players they were without Pop.
Absolutely not.
And somebody like DeMar DeRozan, who we talked about on this show, especially concerning the Raptors, he might be able to take DeMar DeRozan. LaMarcus Aldridge, who never really fulfilled his potential in Portland, you might be able to see him take him to the next level. So we'll see. But kudos to the Spurs for at least being 5-4. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, actually. That's a hot take.
I think they will.
That's a hot take. I know. That's a hot take on my part. I think
they'll be all right.
That's a hot take. Yeah, I mean, that's a good take on your part. That's a hot take on my part.
So the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who they are. Aside from Devin Booker, who balls like crazy. DeAndre Ayton's out there. Now, so I thought, and maybe I got this wrong, I thought DeAndre Ayton was suspended. But no, he is not.
What did you think he was suspended for, like PEDs or something?
Yeah, I thought he was, but
there was somebody suspended for PEDs. That's why I'm thinking. That's why I'm trying to align myself with your thought.
He's only played one game so far this season, so I'm gonna have to cross-reference that. But I thought that he was their number one pick from like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I know they had put a lot of stock in him. Yeah, he is suspended.
So he's not playing right now.
Yeah, he's not.
Okay.
He's not. He is suspended. Okay. I did for a banned substance.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He's something like that.
25 games. So he did play one game.
Okay.
And he's suspended for another time. So that's another person, because we're gonna get to another person in the league that's been suspended for PED use as well. So they were really banging, and it's interesting because he is their center.
Yeah.
And they're actually 5-3, which is still early.
Well, go ahead and finish your point. I think we may be converging on
I mean, it's still early to tell, but the Suns have been trashed for like I don't know how many years.
Exactly.
Ricky Rubio is there now.
Yeah.
Your boy Kelly Oubre Jr. is there now.
Yep. In the trade last year.
Made a trade for him last year. Mikal Bridges is there. He actually was their, I believe, their number one pick for this. No, he was there last year. So their actual draft picks this year was Cameron Johnson. He came out of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me get in Ty Jerome, who was touted very highly during that NCAA championship run that University of Virginia had. Mm-hmm. So they're still growing after like 15 years of building. They're still building.
So we both like PTI. They say it a lot. Wilbon says a lot. Like, Kornheiser makes fun of Wilbon for saying that the Phoenix Suns are on the rise. But I think we are actually seeing the fruition of their building. So that's where I was going with it. You were saying it's early, and it is early, but I think we are starting to see the results of, acquiring draft picks. I'm not going to say they would tank. I don't feel like they were tanking. I feel like they were just bad, and they made the most out of the bad picks that they could get. I don't think that they were actively tanking. I think they just knew what they were. But anyway, the point being, I think you're starting to see that talent starting to come together. But it is early, to your point. Will they be dominant? No. 5-3, that's a good record. So, hey.
Wow. Ricky Rubio is the most experienced person on that team.
Yeah.
They are young.
Well, in all fairness, though, it's easy to forget how long Ricky Rubio's been around. This is now, I would say, at minimum, his third team, if not his fourth. Because Minnesota, Utah. Has there been any other team?
I think this is the third.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah. But he has been. But yeah, to your point, the fact that he is the veteran, the veteran leader of the team.
What are we doing?
Yeah. So they'll be fun to watch though. My hot take. So the hot take that the Spurs won't make the playoffs, the Suns will take the Spurs spot. That's the hot take.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the conclusion of that hot take.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Now let's get to the heavies.
Okay, look. To call the Dallas Mavericks a heavy is a little far-fetched for me because they've been trash since they haphazardly beat LeBron in the Miami Heat in the finals.
They have been some trash.
Yeah. So Dirk Nowitzki is gone. He has retired, sailed off into the sunset.
Yes, he has.
We are now in the Kristaps Porzingis era of the Mavericks. Hopefully he can stay healthy.
But they're balling.
6-3.
They're 6-3.
Again, still early.
It is early.
Rick Carlisle is still there. He's been around for a while.
He's a good coach.
He is a good coach.
Yeah. So I would think just by that alone, you can't, if they have a good start, you can't discount it and think that, they're going to regress to the mean. I think that Porzingis and the Doncic, what's his name?
Luka Doncic.
Doncic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good duo. I'm saying this because my trash wizards, spoiler alert, but my trash wizards saw them up close, so I saw them up close. They're a good team. Well, no, let me say this. That's a formidable duo, and they have a good coach. So with that, they can do damage.
They also have they made a couple other moves. Courtney Lee's there. Seth Curry was a free agent. He came there over from Portland.
I like Courtney Lee, by the way.
Tim Hardaway Jr., I think he came over in the Porzingis trade.
Yep.
And the rookie that they picked up in the draft is Jalen Brunson. He's the National Player of the Year out of Villanova. And actually, he's been playing well. So, again, just like the previous team we talked about, the Suns, this could be where we see why all these moves have happened and if they'll start winning any games. And so far, they're 6-3. So maybe they can continue on that road.
Yeah. So
now we're getting to the meat.
Okay.
We get into the good teams now.
All right.
The Utah Jazz, who are also 6-3. Actually, we got a few teams that are 6-3 right now.
Yes.
So the Utah Jazz.
Utah is a good team.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been a good team for a couple years now. Quietly good because they play in Utah. They don't get a lot of national attention. We have talked about the center. The French
Rudy Gobert.
Gobert.
And it's funny because we talked about him sonning his own teammate
in the World Championships,
the basketball World Championships.
Yeah. And the coach is Dookie. Correct?
Yeah, Quinn Snyder.
Quinn Snyder. Yep. Yeah. They are a good team. They are well coached. He is a good coach. They are very, very disciplined, and it's just one of those things. Like, okay, what do they need to do to break through? Mm-hmm. All right,
not play the Warriors,
and they don't have to worry about that this year. So, hey, listen, Gobert is a presence in there. If they can, you know what I feel like about Utah? They just need to watch the tape from the last couple of years, figure out, like, make whatever adjustments head to head you need to make in against teams in the playoffs, because they are going to the playoffs, and so they need to figure out, okay, how are we going to beat? Well, the teams are different now, so that's something different. But how are we going to beat LA? How are we going to beat whoever? Well, both LAs, and then use their size.
Yeah,
that's a physical team. That's a physical team, and they play good ball. I mean, ironically, it's kind of like Utah of old, except with different players. They play fundamental basketball. They're well coached, and they have a good big man. And they kind of play a different style than I think the rest of the league, especially the West, is playing. But if they do what they do best, they are a problem.
And bringing in Mike Conley, because now they have a legit ball.
Yeah,
handler. They have a legit
where
point
Mike
guard.
Conley went. Thank you.
They're going to have a legit ball handler in him. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is a baller. We saw that last season and his rookie season. They also have Bojan Bogdanovic is there, and he's a good small forward. I mean, he ain't going to give you like Vince Carter type circa 2000 small forward, but, he's going to be a key player there as well. And also journeyman Jeff Green, who's been on like every team in the league at this point.
I mean, Jeff Green, who will always get love from this podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
From his participation in Georgetown and his love for the city of D.C.
That, and also, too, like, he and Mike Conley are the most experienced players on that team. And you need people like that on your team to corral a lot of this youth that they have. Like, the two of them and all their basketball IQ definitely is going to be good examples for the rest of that.
So, hot take alert. You know what? I think Mike Conley, I didn't really think about it until you just said it. He may have this year what Dame Lillard had last year. Like, sort of everybody knows about me. Everybody, has sort of respected me. Maybe Mike Conley breaks out this year in the playoffs, because he's had bad luck in the playoffs. He's been hurt and stuff like that. And people knew Mike Conley was good, and they knew that Memphis would be good with him. And he's just always gotten like hurt at the wrong time, or something has happened. So yeah, maybe this year with Utah, he breaks through. Little warm take. Maybe he has his Dame Lillard moment where people are like, okay, yeah, everything we said about this guy's true.
I feel like as long as he can stay healthy, all of that can happen.
Yep.
And that's like the biggest thing with him.
Yep.
So.
All right. So we got a couple teams left. Yeah, 4 teams left.
Almost rounding out this Western Conference. I feel like the East is going to be easy. But, all right. So, the Rockets.
All right.
I big sigh about the Rockets because they're everything they shouldn't be, right? Like, they're always everything they shouldn't be. On paper, even in the playoffs, like 2 years in a row, they just dropped the ball. Where it's ridiculous. So the big thing that happened in the offseason is Russell Westbrook is there now reuniting with James Harden, who people were like, oh, they played together before. Yeah, but before James Harden wasn't who James Harden is now.
That's
James Harden is now reigning MVP, or 2 years ago MVP. He was a role player, third behind.
He was coming off the bench.
Yeah. He was third behind Russ and KD.
Yeah.
Now he's the man. Now you got two people who are used to being the man. So far from what I've seen, it's been okay, like chemistry wise.
Yeah.
But I've watched a couple games where Houston just made some
horrific
decisions. There was no reason for them to lose to the Bucks on the opening week. They were up by 17 with a quarter to go, and they let the Bucks come all the way back. And I was just watching this like, okay, I'm seeing the rust that I couldn't stand in the playoffs last year. The hasty decisions, basketball IQ out the window, throwing the ball all over the court, taking unsolicited shots. And I'm like, see, it's all good right now because y'all boys, but let that continue to happen throughout the season. I'm going to see some heads butt.
So, look, I feel like you have been, and I mean, you said it. You're a D'Antoni like proponent.
I am.
I believe that this season will be a referendum on his ability to coach and lead, not scheme X's and O's, but handle this situation. There have been miscues that have to come down to, you know who you're dealing with. When you're in the Russell Westbrook / James Harden business, you know what business you're in. Mm-hmm. So if there are miscues and stuff like what you just described, this is not a surprise. You need to corral this. And if it doesn't get corralled, and if they don't get results, now, do they need to win the finals this year? No, I'm going to say no. They need to advance. They need to, in my opinion, get to the Western Conference Finals for it to be deemed successful. And to your point, if they have miscues like what you described along the way, it will get very uncomfortable around there very quickly, and you need a leader of men to corral that situation. So we will see what Mike D'Antoni is made of. Is he made of stronger stuff? And that's really my take about the Rockets. Look, Russ and Harden are MVPs. So, you know, X's and O's go out the window when it comes to them. The two of them, if managed properly, can beat anybody in this league. Both of them have taken the Warriors separately on different teams to the brink. And both of them would probably say they should have won their series.
They should have.
Yeah.
All of us are saying
yes.
Up 3-1.
It's not about ability. It's not about whatever. It's about corralling it and making it work. That's my opinion on the Rockets. But they are 6-3. So technically speaking, they're doing all right. But 6-3 is probably 1 or 2 games less than what they should be.
They fit directly into my backcourt theory. Mm-hmm. They do. So I don't think they'll be any less than the 4th seed this year.
Correct.
But let's see what they can do with that.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to the perennial favorite. Everybody is calling this, and I think they're just high off of Kawhi Leonard's decision to come there. And the fact that Playoff P has joined them.
They're smoking Kawhi vapors.
They are. So it's the Clippers. They're also 6-3. They've had some impressive wins thus far.
Opening night,
they beat their suite mates, their roommates.
Right.
So we can get into this resting thing because I know you're like chomping at the bit.
I'm chomping at the bit, but I'll keep it short because, I mean, Tony Kornheiser has cornered the market on the outrage of this. But long story short, Kawhi Leonard has rested twice. We're 9 games into the season. That's not acceptable. He rested against Giannis the other day. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, you can't rest against the MVP, the former MVP.
And Doc Rivers basically admitted it. And, you know, I put it like this. Kawhi Leonard, at this point, I believe feels like, and probably it's hard to tell him otherwise, but he can do whatever he wants to do. It's hard to it will be hard for me to tell him that he can't do whatever he wants to do because he basically like muscled himself out of San Antonio, went to Toronto, hooked them up with a championship, and then left. Like he's and beat the Golden State Warriors in the process.
And rested
right
for a lot of games during that season. And Toronto actually was like something like 12-5 or something ridiculous when he rested.
Oh no, it cost them games. It wasn't. I mean, they played
well when he rested. They actually had a better record.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, yeah. Proportionally, you're right. So it's hard to tell him that. It's hard to say the decisions you make aren't good decisions because in his mind, they are working for him. But as far as the league is concerned, it's not acceptable.
Well, I think Tony's gripe has always been, if I'm not mistaken, is that when you're selling tickets to fans and they expect to show up, like this became an issue. He became really irate about it when LeBron used to do this, and we'll get to him and the Lakers later.
And Pop too.
Yes.
Yeah, he's called out Pop as the author of this.
Right.
Yeah.
But specifically when you have one of the biggest basketball players in the world, your fans are buying tickets, they come to the game to see LeBron James, and he's rested.
Mm-hmm.
It's, okay, you've already got the money out of the fans' pockets, but at the same time, like, that's disappointing.
Yeah. And Sham, you've talked about it, so I'm going to give you credit because you've been harder on this than I have when we've talked about the length of the season. And my whole argument was more so the NBA season is too long. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. The NBA season is too long because of the lack of intrigue. Like, you get through these games and they don't matter. But your whole point when I brought that up a few shows ago was, I mean, these guys are babies. Like they acted like they can't play 82 games or whatever.
This is what you're paid to do.
And I agree with you. I mean, again, Gary Payton. I mean, he went seasons 82. Like, it doesn't matter. You play the games.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
The only season he didn't play when he broke his foot.
He broke his foot. Yeah. I'm not missing games out here. Like, this is not only what I get paid to do, but what I love to do. Like, resting for what? Like, if I can hoop, I can hoop. So yeah, I mean, it's just
you out here making $32 million and you resting. You ain't even getting paid.
Yeah, I'd have preferred if you stayed on Toronto and rested. At least you won them a chip. You ain't won the chip for the Clippers.
What the Clippers owe you?
And Doc Rivers, you played in the era where you played more games. What are you doing? You're sanctioning this.
Yes.
And like sanctioning it and like trumpeting it.
Yeah. Nah.
But that being said, the Clippers gonna be a problem.
they are. They're gonna be a problem if they're not resting all the time.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Okay. I'm never going to win the resting battle. I feel like this is the new wave of the NBA.
Yeah, it is what it is.
But at least rest on scrubs.
Yes.
Don't rest against Giannis.
Correct. Because it makes it look like you're scared. Yeah. I guess
he figured I beat that nigga.
Yeah, back to back. Like, so what? Yeah, and he beat him. Yeah.
Yeah, I got mine.
But we can't run the ones back. Let's run the ones.
And Paul George, was he injured? Because he sat out that game too. Is he injured?
Hey, Paul George, I feel like you're more forgiving of Paul George than I am. I'm willing to say he wasn't injured. He just did a Paul George move.
Okay.
A playoff P move.
Yeah. He stole Danny Granger's career. So there's that.
Paul George be stealing stuff. Ask Roy Hibbert about Paul George.
Tree monster. So Paul George recovering from shoulder surgery. That's why he was sitting. So I will defend him again.
Hey, I guess I'm being rough on playoff P. Get a better playoff P, but after that, like, stop calling yourself that.
So moving on to the Nuggets.
Yes, Nuggets are good. They were good last year. They snuck under the radar. I think we all saw them in the playoffs, and we saw how good they could be in the conference finals. Which
is interesting because they don't have they're like the quintessential role player team.
Yeah.
They don't have like stars. Like
well coached.
Paul Millsap is there.
Who I've always liked. I mean, Paul Millsap
goes on 25 teams.
And he goes to every one of those teams and does his job. And does his job.
So you ever wonder why he's always traded?
You know why? Because he plays above his size and teams don't know they don't know how to use him. I've been for real about this. I've been begging for the Wizards to get Paul Millsap for years. and now he's old, so it's like whatever. But like he plays above his size. He gets boards. He scores, and teams look at him and they're like, well, he's only like whatever, 6'7", whatever. But he's supposed to be a power forward. He should be like 6'10". So that's a fluke. He's only doing that with that team, and he does it team after team after team. Gets boards, gets points. That's what he does, and it's ridiculous that teams just don't know how to use him. But go out and get your bag. Keep traveling from team to team.
Yeah, he's a rebounding machine.
Yeah,
he'll get you a double.
Exactly. And teams don't understand why he gets those rebounds. So,
what about Nikola Jokic though? Like,
yes,
they beat the Timberwolves today in overtime by 2 points. How about 20 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds for a center?
I'll take that every night.
I'll take that. They got that.
7 assists. Yeah.
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 Creating points.
He's like Rick Smits out there.
Man.
It's a throwback, guys.
The Duncan Dutchman, isn't that what they call him?
Yeah.
Nah, but he has more of an edge to him than Rick Smith has. I like Jokic.
Yeah.
He definitely is not for play out here.
The Nuggets are gonna be good.
Yeah. They'll be good, but they need, I think, a dynamic piece to get them to the title.
Probably.
And that's a heavy statement because they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. We're talking about a team that I think it went 6, right? Did they go 6 with?
No, they went 7.
We'll go to 8.
I thought they went 7.
Okay.
Well, maybe not.
But either way, it's not like Golden State just like broomed them or something.
Nah, it was a hard fought series.
Yeah, they had to fight them. So this is not like they need to get it together and let's move on. No, it's like this team is a problem, and they need to get either cultivate the missing piece or get the missing piece, and that's it. So. Or did Houston beat them?
They beat Portland.
Oh, Portland.
Portland beat OKC, and then they beat Portland in 7 games to get to the finals against the Warriors.
Okay.
Well, no.
Wait, yeah, no.
No.
Yeah.
No, Portland beat them in 7, and then the Warriors swept Portland. That's what happened.
Okay. So they didn't make the Western Conference Finals.
No, but they were Game 7 in the semifinals against Portland.
And thank you for clearing that up.
Now that I remember correctly, because I distinctly remember the Warriors sweeping somebody, and it was the Trailblazers.
That makes sense. But yeah, they're a good team though. They're a good team. So they will be entrenched in the playoffs, and they will be a problem in the playoffs. But they will not. They may get to the conference finals because Jokic is a problem. So, all right. Now, speaking of problems.
Yeah, the Lakers.
Yeah.
So, by virtue of the fact that the Lakers are 7-1 right now and leading the Western Conference is the reason why they have gotten to this point in the conversation. Because had we done this a few weeks ago and we had planned it, they would have been with the dumpster. With the rest of the dumpsters. Yeah.
I mean, just by the simple fact of the week 1, game 1 loss
to the Clippers.
It was catastrophic. Like everybody was like,
"Whoa,
wait a minute," which is it shows what kind of society we live in. Because that's what the NBA wanted by putting that game as the first game. Like, let's just get an overreaction alert like immediately, and that's exactly what they got. And I fell victim to it, and I knew it going in. Like, you know what? Whatever happens in this game, I'm gonna have an overreaction alert to it. But yeah, Kawhi went in there and completely like embarrassed the Lakers. I mean, they didn't get mopped. I believe it was a close game.
Yeah, it was close. Actually, when I cut the game on, the Lakers were winning, and I didn't think the Clippers were gonna be able to take the game, but they ended up.
Yeah, then Kawhi took control of the game like he did in the finals. Yeah, so that's what it was. It was like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, and that's another thing. Okay, so here's the overreaction alert. And actually, this is a narrative that has spun out, so I'm glad we're talking about this. The narrative coming into the season that has been playing apparently in LeBron James's head is that everyone believes that Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the world. Okay?
Okay, they do, but they also said this after the other time that when the Spurs won the final and Kawhi was the MVP, people were saying he was the best two-way player in the league.
So, like I said, in LeBron James's head. Those were the key words. So, people know this. And apparently LeBron has allowed this to leak out, that he's a little tight about the fact that he's no longer considered the best. He was somewhat tight about it when they were talking about Durant like that with Golden State. Now he's two people removed. Because people are like, well, Durant got hurt and Kawhi is there, so now maybe you're not number 3, dude. Like, what's up? So the point being, LeBron, is still in his mind and in a lot of people's mind, maybe even mine. I don't know. We'll talk about that. Best player in the world. So Kawhi comes out and takes over the game and wins the game. So disaster alert. This isn't going to work. I mean, there was a story the next day that AD was unhappy.
They still talk about him being unhappy. Right. Like, why did I come here?
Oh, man. But they haven't lost a game since.
There's agita all through the organization.
Right, agita. Right.
AD is upset.
Right. But they haven't lost a game since.
But look, to say they haven't lost a game since, they haven't played anybody since. Except for the Jazz, who they beat by single digits. But then after that, they beat the Hornets, they beat the Grizzlies, they beat the Mavs, they beat the Spurs, they beat the Bulls, they beat the Heat. Like,
I mean, those are, besides the Bulls, you ran through a couple of teams. Some we just talked about, and the Heat are decent. Yeah,
but we haven't gotten that far.
Okay.
So right now, those teams are all teams that didn't even make the playoffs last year. Okay. Except for the Spurs and the Jazz. So, look. I'm wanting to see them play like the Rockets or somebody that's going to like
okay.
And their schedule looks really weak up for the next month, so we'll see. But I cracked up when I heard the story that AD was already unhappy.
Yeah, I mean that's hilarious.
Like, what is he unhappy about? Yeah. Is he mad that Dwight Howard is there and he's an idiot?
Dwight Howard, who looks like a flamingo, by the way. I mean, look, I'm getting old, Sham. I can't comment on styles anymore, I guess. But Dwight Howard looks like a peacock out there, like whatever.
I really want LeBron James to give him the Kobe Bryant treatment.
Yes. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're an embarrassment.
You're a waste of space.
Yeah, and get out of here. All right. So, okay. We actually skipped the Warriors.
We did. So we got to talk about them now.
Yeah. And I think it was appropriate to do so because if we had treated the Warriors like they were just trash at the bottom, that would be inaccurate and disingenuous.
But they do have the worst record in the league.
They have the worst record
today.
Yes. The Warriors are a special case. Here's the situation. This year is in the trash. Mm-hmm. Point blank period. Steph Curry just got hurt. So that is one of the reasons why we might be happy that we did this show now as opposed to when we were going to do it.
Yeah, because we probably would have predicted them to be higher in the standings.
Yeah.
So he has
fighting for a spot.
Right. He has a broken hand. I don't know how long he's going to be out. He may not come back this season.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Already had his Splash brother. Splash brother.
Splash.
I don't know. It could be Smash Brothers. His Splash brother.
Keep going.
You totally misinterpreted what I meant by Smash Brothers. But now I can't even remember the man name.
Klay Thompson.
Klay Thompson is already out. with the ACL tear, which, look.
Yeah, that's rough.
It's rough, but I don't understand these ACL tears in the real world, because my ACL tear took me 6
you had one.
I had one. I was back on the court. I had my surgery in April, was back on the court by November. I don't get these other, that's like, I don't know what's happening.
I'm not even going to speak on it because I have no space to speak on it.
Yeah. You lose Durant. You lose Quinn Cook, JaVale McGee, and DeMarcus Cousins, albeit DeMarcus Cousins didn't play that much because he was injured most of the year. The other cat, the backup point guard, retired.
You lost. You talking about Livingston?
Yes, Sean Livingston retired.
Mm-hmm.
So what's left?
You mentioned Iguodala.
We talked about him going to the Grizzlies. So what's left?
Nothing. No, it's a different team. One small note about the Warriors before we move on. I read an article today from Bleacher Report, I believe. But anyway, it was talking about how a lot of the teams were relishing beating the hell out of the Warriors with Steph and Draymond there because of all the antics that Steph and Draymond specifically were pulling when they were good. Mm-hmm. Now that Steph is hurt, they're like, well, there's no joy in it. But they were like, no, we relish beating the hell out of the two of them because they were acting up. They specifically said KD wasn't acting up and Clay wasn't acting up.
Well, around the league, there's a great amount of respect for Klay Thompson.
Oh, everybody love Clay. Mm-hmm. His mama named Clay. We gonna call him Clay. Like, everybody love Clay. KD, I'm not gonna say everybody love him. They respect him. But yeah, I mean, whatever. But yeah, Steph and Draymond, they were acting up when they were good. Mm-hmm. And people love beating them.
They petty.
Yeah.
Shimmying and talking.
Yeah, that's exactly what was quoted in the article.
Like all that mess.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that.
And the biceps, like Draymond, like Slim. I mean, okay, they're bigger than mine. Clearly, I have no biceps, but like Slim, they're not even the biggest thing on that part of the court.
Yeah. Now, okay, Steve Kerr, why don't you show us how well you can actually coach? Because you are left with who are these people? Omari Spellman, Jacob Evans, Jordan Poole, Alan Smalajic, Eric Paschall, D'Angelo Russell came over there from the Nets. Mm-hmm. Willie Cauley-Stein, who has never shown us anything out of Kentucky. Glenn Robinson III. Who are these people?
My last point about this Warriors, and then we can move on. Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson could come out here and whip up some wins out here. Yeah. That's been my problem with the Golden State Warriors this whole time.
Yeah, that is.
That's how they treated Mark Jackson.
That was his squad.
Yeah.
That was his squad.
So... anyway.
So wrapping up the rest. So what we're going to do with the Eastern Conference is going to be so different than what we just did with the West. Why?
Correct.
Because about 6 of these teams are trash. Knicks trash. Bulls trash. Magic trash.
Wizards
Hawks trash. Cavaliers trash.
Wizards
Pistons trash adjacent. Hornets trash adjacent. Nets shouldn't be trash, but they're 4-4. So first of all, I do want to talk about the Hornets, though, and we are obligated to talk about the Wizards.
The Hornets are very interesting. So go.
So the Hornets, and of course we want to talk about them because they're owned by the GOAT. Mm-hmm.
it's so interesting. It really is.
It is very interesting
to see them.
I have no clue what direction Michael Jordan has ever wanted for this team. And I don't now either. So I just don't understand the squad. This is another team that drafts the same type of player like every year. Like, what are you doing? So they acquired Terry Rozier, and we talked a lot about Terry Rozier. Specifically his unhappiness and his disdain for Kyrie Irving. Yeah. Let's just be clear.
And the Celtics for how he was treated.
Right. Which he was kind of a hothead. So with that being said, they said, fine, we'll get you out of here and we'll trade you for Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
Who Kemba Walker seemed like he was going to be a lifer.
Yeah.
in Charlotte. They picked up PJ Washington from Kentucky with the 12th pick. He was pretty good last year. So that could be another complimentary player for Terry Rozier. Other than that, like, I don't know what else this team is doing. They have Nicholas Batum, who's been in the league forever. Marvin Williams is still there.
Still there.
Is he married into the Jordan family? Because I don't understand.
Got tapes of Mike Gambler.
Right, dude. Yeah. Like 14 years in.
Yeah.
And he has done nothing.
Nothing. And honestly, I don't understand what's happening with the Hornets, because if Michael Jordan, the player, were to ever walk up to Michael Jordan, the owner, he'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, he would cuss himself out.
Yes. He'd be like, what's your strategy? I demand more. Like, what are you doing out here?
Yeah, this team would never be acceptable to Michael Jordan, the player.
Correct. And that's honestly, I can't even like expand on my point better than that, because it's like, I don't understand Michael Jordan, the owner, beyond, okay, well, are you just not trying to pay people, or like, but even if that's the case, why are you drafting the same type of people with no like result? So yeah. And then Kemba Walker was a good player. Like, why didn't you surround him with something? That being said, yeah, East trash. Because I'm looking at the East right now, and okay, Detroit should be better, but not. Cleveland. Cleveland played the Wizards the other night, and I was like, who plays for Cleveland? Oh, Kevin Love. And who else? Yeah, wait a minute. A couple draftees. Trash.
The Cavs had the second worst record in the league last year.
Yes.
And they're probably going to have the worst record this year. I mean, their notable players are Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
Larry Nance Jr. is a decent player. Kevin Porter Jr. can't stay healthy. Like, he only played like 2 games in college, and then he came last year and got hurt then. I think it's interesting that Matthew Dellavedova is back because he's hilarious.
Yeah. My Wizards know about him.
Right. And so do the Warriors. But yeah, the Cavs, they're trash. Gonna circle back on the Wizards real quick. I mean, not the Wizards, but the Pistons. You brought them up briefly. Mm-hmm. They should be better than they are.
Yes.
Because on paper, they're actually very good.
Yes.
Andre Drummond is a rebounder.
Drummond is good.
He's good. So Markieff Morris is there. Former Wizard.
Yep.
They got a couple young bucks, but like Derrick Rose is there. He comes off the bench. Actually, he doesn't even start.
What do you think of Derrick Rose's sort of take on? I feel like this is his third chapter. I feel like he's doing all right. He's accepted his limitations physically,
and I think that's all he can do at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's smart to just play within yourself and not try to be who you used to be. Yeah, he's gonna have games where he's gonna ball out, but he's not gonna be able to do that consistently.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
And that's good to see, because he was explosive. He's a great athlete at the time, but that time has passed.
And once those knees go, you're done, son.
You're done. I mean, look. I mean, I'm a Wizards fan, but they're trash. Trash.
Bradley Beal got his money, though.
He did, and he stayed with us for 2 years.
2 years, $72 million.
Yep, and that was good. I actually felt good about that, because what that showed was Brad is willing to ride this out real quick until he can get his major back, and he's not trying to extort us. He's actually going to try to lead a trash team and try to do something.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Who the hell is Ish Smith?
Oh, yeah, one of our nobody people. Now, we also have the Japanese dude,
Rui Hashimori.
Yes.
Let me tell you when
he's actually probably the best rookie right now.
Let me tell you when I found out about Rui Hashimori. when everybody was talking about Duke last year was going to go undefeated, Rui Hashimori was like, "No, you're not."
No, you're not.
And they promptly gave Duke their first loss of the season.
Yeah, Rui. Yeah. Rui's playing well. So
he's good.
It's a good draft pick. The only reason I'm not kirking out harder about the Wizards is because like the rest of the teams in DC besides the football team, who I don't care about, are doing well. A and B. That was actually a good draft pick in my opinion, and the Wizards are actually like draft wise moving in the right direction.
And let me tell you about. Let me just bring up that when the draft happened, we discussed this pick and how people were like, "What? Why? How?" It shows you how much people actually know about basketball because this kid is everything that you want.
Yep.
In a small forward. He plays hard, he hustles, he balls out, great footwork, has a good mid-range jumper. Like he's definitely probably the most well-rounded player that y'all could have gotten in that draft at that point. So he's going to be all right. The Wizards, not so much.
No. So Wizards trash, Knicks trash. I mean, most of East is not good.
So let's talk about the Nets.
Yes. The Nets are fun.
The Nets are a fun topic. Kyrie Irving has already ruffled some feathers. It hasn't even been 10 games.
Correct. Causing concern, temper tantrums, his mood swings is the word I heard.
Yes, mood swings was definitely the phrase that I saw. They're middle of the road. I mean, they're 500. They're 4-4. I don't think we're going to expect much from them this season because the big draw is Durant and Irving together. Yeah. Now, we discussed Durant briefly, and we talked about how you think people respect him around the league. I feel like they respect him as a player. I feel like they don't respect him as a person.
No.
Whack.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. I have
personally called him a Bama.
He is a Bama.
And he admitted that the main reason, the catalyst for him wanting to leave Golden State was
the
argument with Draymond, which we went into great detail about on the episode called Curb Mellow.
Yeah. That was just a great sequence of events.
It was.
A confluence of multiple things. And yeah, thank you for reminding me of Carmelo.
And then also, did you hear about his little tete-a-tete with Serge Ibaka?
No.
On it was a show they were on, like a radio show or podcast, where KD's like, "Yeah, if I didn't get hurt, we would have beaten y'all in the finals."
And they used to be teammates together.
Yeah, this is probably why they were going back and forth.
Yeah.
It was probably like, kind of like a playful type thing, but it started to get a little serious because Serge was like, even if you were there, I don't think you would have beaten us because we were on such a high. Like we had so much confidence going into that series. Like it was just a magical kind of run for us. Mm-hmm. I don't think we would have just come out and just beaten us. He's like, for sure we would have beaten y'all. Maybe a game 7, but we would have for sure beaten.
Podcast?
It was either a podcast or a radio show. I'm not clear. But yeah. That's what he said.
KD's a Bama.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Straight C Pleasant Bama.
But yeah. Hey, C Pleasant, man. Hey, y'all need to step up. Now, that being said, I mean, he's one of the best, literally, like, put people in the room. He's one of the best 5 best basketball players on the planet. But yeah.
Yeah, that's not an argument there.
Yeah. But yeah, he's Bama.
He's a Bama.
But yeah, he and Serge used to be teammates, so that probably played into, like you said, what they
probably just
about.
A little bit of banter.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Pacers.
Victor.
Is Oladipo back? He's not back.
I don't think he's back, but that's to me what is the cloud that hangs over that team. How good they can be with him there.
Oh God! Don't tell me Victor Oladipo's on The Masked Singer. Of course he is.
That being said, Victor Oladipo is from here, so I have big love for him. I've never liked the Pacers as an organization. I mean, not that they've done anything wrong, but whatever. But I want him to get healthy and take that team to where I think it could be, which is at minimum
fifth seed.
What
second round in the playoffs?
Seed. Yeah, second round of the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have much to say about the Pacers. I think they have a decent young squad, and he would just be the icing on the cake for them when he gets back and he's healthy. They're going to compete. I mean, they competed very well in the playoffs last year. They just couldn't get over the hump because they needed that extra player.
And I feel like when he got hurt, was it last year?
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, they were at minimum a third.
They were balling.
Yeah, second round or second standing in the East when he got hurt. So yeah.
So they picked up Malcolm Brogdon though from the Bucks, which everybody was a little shocked that the Bucks didn't re-sign Malcolm Brogdon because they thought he was pretty good. But I mean, the rest of the team is full of a bunch of no names. You don't even know who they are. T.J. McConnell. Well, I know who Doug McDermott is. He's like one of the best college players, but hasn't translated into the league. But that's the Pacers. So moving on.
76ers. I mean, we alluded to it earlier. Joel Embiid. He's a clown.
He is a clown. He's a big clown. And not in the cool way.
No. I mean, they're going to be good. Ben Simmons.
He's hurt.
Yeah, and even before he was hurt, step up and shoot a jumper.
Well, that's not what he does.
A friend of ours has said, you know what? This is getting to be unacceptable, and it needs to get on the coach. It can't be acceptable that your player refuses to take a jump shot.
But he's a point guard. He doesn't have to shoot.
Yes, he does. The time. If I'm the coach.
If he can get to the basket, why not?
If I'm the coach,
he's bigger than any other point guard in the league.
Take a shoot. Take a shot.
Look, Magic Johnson couldn't shoot at first, but he developed a shot. Get his boy some time.
And he didn't refuse to shoot.
Sometimes you wish he did.
He didn't refuse to shoot. That's the point. He didn't refuse it. The other team couldn't game plan, being like, oh, well, we know he's not going to shoot. Yeah, that's not acceptable. Dennis Rodman took shots. Like, stop. Yeah. Ben Simmons, stop.
Dennis Rodman took mid-range shots. He was
exactly. A
layup is a shot.
Anyway. But look. I think Joel Embiid needs to take his career more seriously. I mean, that's not a hot take. Everyone understands that.
He's corny.
And it bleeds into his game as well because you see him in games and you're like, you need to understand. It's frustrating because he's developed a skill set and he's clearly put the work in to do that. It's like it would be like if Hakeem Olajuwon was a clown and didn't take himself seriously. Like you see the person has developed a skill set but like doesn't take themselves seriously. Like, how did you take yourself seriously enough to actually develop that skill set, but not take it all the way through? So that's how
you just said Hakeem Olajuwon
because it was a big man.
Oh,
it was a big man.
Well, Shaq didn't take himself too seriously. He was just so dominant that it didn't matter.
I was about to say, and he was big. He was bigger than everybody.
Yeah, it just didn't matter.
Embiid is big, but not that big. I specifically say Olajuwon because Embiid has an outside shot, not because also he has an accent. Let's keep going.
I don't even know why you brought that in. Nobody thought that.
No, I brought.
Nobody thought that.
No. I guarantee you, people thought it. I'm addressing but the blowback. I put the fire extinguisher out on that blowback.
I mean, everybody knows they're both African, so
exactly. And I want to make sure that that's not why I made the comparison.
and they've actually worked together. He's worked with him.
Exactly.
So it wouldn't be far-fetched.
The dream saw something in him besides the heritage.
So what's the timetable on Ben Simmons? Do you know?
I don't. I think it's a few weeks. All right. So while we are investigating that, the Bucks, Giannis, the Greek freak.
Talking about somebody who needed to get a shot.
And look, he's working on. See, Giannis is working on it. Giannis is working on it because you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a vast improvement.
Yes.
Like he was out all summer. Like I was in Athens. I ain't see him. He must have been holed up in the gym. Getting his shot on. But he definitely.
So you trying to say you went over to Europe looking for Giannis?
No, I just found
it was a joke.
But he definitely has been working on his jump shot. It's been noticed heavily.
Yes.
I noticed it myself in that first game when they beat the Rockets when they shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's been a lot of talk about it. So he's definitely heard the whispers and decided to work on his game.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, look, the Bucks, legit Eastern Conference Finals contender. If you have Giannis on your team, if Giannis takes whatever the next step for him is, there's no reason to believe they won't be in the finals. Point blank, period. That's my little hot take on the Bucks. So, spoiler alert for the rest of the teams. You're on notice. Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of teams that look like they on their way to the finals, I mean, right now the Eastern Conference is led by the Celtics. They've not lost a game in a while. They lost one game.
So, kind of like how you said about the Lakers, I mean, the Celtics have played people and they've beaten people and they've had some decent wins, but in my opinion, they gotta go through the Bucks. I believe did they play already? I don't know. We'll look that up. But regardless, even if they've beaten them,
they have beaten them.
Yeah, they got to go through them. They got to go through them in a 7-game series, and I don't see it. I like the Bucks for the finals. Now, the Celtics, great coaching, nice core. Clearly are very happy to get rid of Kyrie Irving. Yo, this is a bad look for him. Do you agree?
It's a bad look, but I don't think anybody cares. And I
mean, they don't care, and no one cares. But like, if you look at this like 2-3 years down the road, and look at this like little sort of stretch, it doesn't look good for him. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know, Sham. I don't see it. I'm not scared of them.
I think about the Celtics and Gordon Hayward. So I think the worst thing that could have happened to Gordon Hayward is that he came over to the Celtics from Utah. Like, the kid had like a pretty decent career. He was on the rise. Came over to the Celtics. First game of the season, he breaks his leg. He's out. Horrifically.
Yeah.
He's out, like, done. Then he comes back last season, and he's kind of a shell of himself, which, hey, you're working through the confidence again, the mental aspect of recovering from an injury. Then he comes back this season. The Celtics lost the first night, haven't lost a game since. And then, boom, another injury.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you reunited with your coach from college. You think this is going to be a great situation, but it's been nothing but horrible since he got there. So, at this point, you can't even count on this dude.
Yeah.
To be consistently healthy.
I mean, both injuries. The leg injury was freak and horrific. Now this was wrist. Mm-hmm. Is it kind of like stuff? Yeah. No, it's bad luck. Yeah. The one caveat I'll say, it sounds terrible to say it. I mean, I'd rather have broken bones than torn ligaments. So, in terms of if I'm a GM or owner and a player, because broken bones, like, bones heal. Like, ligaments heal too, but the point being, bones heal, like, you get back, everything's fine. Ligaments, it takes a little bit longer. So maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable with a broken wrist than if he had like a, MCL, ACL, something like that.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're both horrible. And if you're GM,
it's all horrible.
You don't want anything to happen.
You don't want, yeah.
So we have one more team left in the East, and they are the reigning NBA champions. They're 6-2 right now.
And they're good.
They're good.
Yeah.
Look, and this goes back to my point where I was saying when Kawhi rested last year, they still won games.
Yeah.
They had a great record without him.
Yeah.
But and they were great before he got there. They just couldn't get to the finals.
There were a few years where Toronto was running that 1 seed like it was nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Granted, they don't have DeRozan anymore. They rented Kawhi for a season and got them a championship. Drake got his ring.
Right.
But yeah, Kyle Lowry's still there. Serge Ibaka's still there. I believe Marc Gasol's still there. Siakam is balling. Yeah,
and Siakam, he really had a good coming out party during the finals.
He did.
It's so good for him. That being said, okay, look, they're formidable. They're a formidable team. Because even in the finals, it's not like Kawhi was Dwayne Wade out there, like just completely taking over the series, like from sun up to sundown. No, he wasn't. He took over the series at moments he needed to do it.
Right.
So, yeah, people like Siakam, people like Gasol, people like Lowry even. I'm talking about Kyle Lowry like he don't even belong on a basketball court.
You really don't like him.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, good for Toronto. That being said, you can't convince me once the playoffs start in April that Toronto is the biggest team to fear in the East. If I'm a fan of the Bucks, if I have Giannis, if I have the Greek freak on my team, I look at Toronto and I'm like, I will yoke all over them. That's how I'm feeling.
Well, I don't think anybody should fear Toronto.
Yeah.
I just think that they'll just revert back to what they were before Kawhi was
exactly. He was the clutch, Gene.
But it did help from a national standpoint for everybody to get to know the other players on the team.
Sure.
Like, you wouldn't even know of a guy named Fred VanVleet if it wasn't for them being in the finals.
You're
and
right.
he contributed tremendously. When Kyle Lowry was looking like a dud, Fred VanVleet was hitting buckets.
Kyle Lowry been having so many people save his career. It ain't even funny.
Right. So, I mean, and like you said, it was a coming out party for Pascal Siakam. And you know, he just scored like 44 points last night.
I was about to say, is Siakam now? Because I feel like back then he was on some Juan Soto stuff. Like he was like 20, right? He was very young.
He's 25.
Oh, okay. I got this. Well, that's still young.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man, good for them. So, listen, great season coming up. You stay away from the major predictions.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it?
Nope.
All right. Well, here's what
Bucks Clippers.
So here's what I'm going to do.
Giannis's revenge.
Here's what I'm going to do. I mean, you might have taken some air out of my sails there. That might have been my little prediction right there. No, okay. Thankfully, that was not my prediction. It was close though.
No, you're gonna say Bucks Lakers?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
You had the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals last year, so I knew you were gonna go with the Lakers.
Lakers Bucks Finals. Giannis takes it in 6. LeBron is tight. There's controversy surrounding it. I don't know what sort yet. AD gets out of LA.
He bounces quickly.
Right.
Quickly goes to the Raptors.
Talk about them? But yeah. So AD gets out of there. Game over.
Where's he go?
He'll reveal some argument they had during the finals in the locker room, and he leaves. He goes back to Chicago as the story this week unfolded. That he might. But in all seriousness, he might stay. But yeah, Bucks champs, Giannis champ. Yeah,
okay. I think I've already said this, that Giannis gets his revenge on Kawhi.
I don't see Kawhi. If Kawhi gets to the finals, Kawhi wins the finals. You see, that's the thing. If Kawhi,
this is why I don't make predictions. I'm just clowning.
If Kawhi scares me, man. If he gets there, nah, you're not taking it from him.
He's a cyborg.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like he was staring Giannis down. Like, nah, you're not built for this. Yeah, you gotta take him out first.
All right, then. This concludes the NBA edition of the Stop Playing podcast.
Good. It'll be a good season.
It will be a good season. Tweet us, email us. You got all the deets. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and the Facebook, and we're on every podcast platform you can think of. Just type in the Stop Playing podcast, and you'll find us. Just like I always say, keep your chips on the plate and watch those basketball games this season. I mean, if you're a fan of those 5 teams we call trash, they are trash. Sorry. See you guys. Later. Stop playing.